You can't make this stuff up. Have you ever said that? You're trying to tell a story to someone and you say, you wouldn't believe what happened to me today. You just can't make this stuff up. Well, that's this segment. This segment two, we're going to be talking about an event that happened to me not long ago in the TV areas. Everybody or many people have TV services that they buy a service to get television to them and movies, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the other day I went through what I thought would be a simple process, and it turned out to have some time lessons in it. So we're going to take a look at that very briefly and see if we can learn something from that. And it involves the returning of some equipment. My wife and I had, for a long time, rented some equipment that gave us TV service, so many channels in such definition, etc. And the time for that technology was getting old. So we had to return some equipment. We actually went to another service. And so I made a call. But before that call, what I didn't do is think about what time do I have to waste? You say, well, why would you have thought of that? Well, I normally wouldn't have. But in this instance, as I look back, I should have asked myself, how much time am I going to waste on this? Why? Because the process I had to go through to simply convert equipment and get it back to the supplier was quite an experience. So I had to return some DVR type receivers and equipment. So I made a call, and that call was simple. Okay, I need to return this. I'm going to move to a different technology. It's more modern, have it a long time. And so they said, fine, here is the instructions. We're going to send you boxes and we're going to charge you for those boxes, but send us that equipment back. I said, okay, well, I guess if that's what I have to do, that's what I have to do. Well, after a week, nothing happened. And so call number 2 happened. I called them back and asked them, where is this equipment? It hasn't showed up. And they go, oh my, it hasn't? So we are going to have to send it to you again. Well, you probably know how that went. After another week or so, and I've only got 30 days to get this back, I made call number 3. And I talked to the person and they said that they apologize. We don't know what's happened, but I'm going to change your address. This was at a different, the billing address was different. So they were going to change the address. And by the way, my equipment was obsolete and they didn't really need it back. But instructions would be coming with the boxes. Well, let's think about that a minute. You're going to go to the expense of sending me boxes to give me the instructions on how not to send the equipment back. And she said, yes, we have to follow procedure. So I said, okay, well, this is the third time. Follow procedure. Let's try this. Well, you can imagine what happened. No boxes again. So I called the 4th time about the same subject. And finally, someone with what I would call common sense and knowledge talked to me. And she got on the phone and she said, let me look up your account. Oh, I see. Yes. No, that equipment's obsolete. You don't have to send it back. I said, well, I know I don't have to send it back. People have told me that, but you said they have to send boxes. Nope, we won't have to send boxes. We don't have to do anything. You don't have to do one thing at all. You're done. Well, that was common sense, but it took me 4 times to get through to that. And as I went through this experience, I thought about our listeners and said, you know, this is a great lesson in 1, who we do business with, and 2, how to run a business or how not to run a business. The time wasted, if I estimated it, it was probably by the time we get the waiting and the account numbers in and get to the person, they look up the account, we talk it back and forth, probably on average 10 minutes per call. Could have actually been more. I made 4 calls. So that would be 40 minutes. And two people's time was being wasted. Every time I had someone on the line talking about the returning of equipment. So there were two people involved. That's 80 minutes of wasted time. 80 minutes. So I go back to the starting question in this segment. Do you have extra time to waste? Took 40 minutes of my time, 40 minutes of that company's time, and no value added, because at the end, nothing had to be done. Zero. There wasn't a transaction needed. I didn't need to even go to a website. I had nothing to do. So what lessons might we learn when we go through things like this? When we see time waste, how should we be thinking? Well, number one, training. Obviously, I went through 4 different people and their training was different. So that organization does not have what I would call a successful training program. That's the first thing. They can learn from that. Number 2 is the communication. What were those people told? What was I being told? It was different. And so even if they didn't know, they didn't seem to be able to quickly communicate with their systems and get the right answer other than the 4th person. So there's a communication gap. I suspect there's a leadership gap. They should be excelling in understanding their customer experience. They are in a very competitive marketplace. And I was waiting for a survey. How did your service go? Sometimes you get those. I would have given them feedback. Send me a survey. Here's how you did. You might want to look at your processes. And I got none. That frustration probably never hit any internal metric. I'm just guessing at this, but from what I can tell, I doubt their leadership knows they've got a big hole. And I would be very influenced if I made a decision in the future about this company. So what we might do as individuals, when you see that, when companies or individuals are wasting your time, learn to work with companies that respect your time. Learn to work with them that can actually appreciate your time, that give you quick service, that don't put you on hold. You don't call them to go into voicemail. You don't call them to wait 24 hours. You don't call them to get the wrong information. So iterate your life when you see chronic problems, and this was a one-time instance, but when you see chronic problems where you're having to sit in waiting rooms too long, they don't stay on schedule, that's not showing respect for your time and our time. So we want to think about what we can do better, and that will free up time. That simple process that we go through will free up time for making a difference in what matters most to us. We'll be back in just a moment.